You will not succeed because you are not part of the group which owns and controls your life. There are a few select groups which have more power than you can ever imagine. They own the governments. They're bigger than the GDP of many governments. They punish any who expose or oppose them. But the public deserves to know the truth. And that's why you came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Today we are going to do an expose showing you the collusion in between governments and big corporations. Let's begin. Remember that this is not in any particular order. I just want to bring it to you very quickly, shed some light on it, and beginning with Goldman Sachs. This is one of the biggest companies around. Their power goes so deep, and they've had this for quite some time. You could see that it is pervasive, all the way from the CEOs to lobbyists. This company is completely connected with the US government, and that also goes into Europe and other places. You'll see this here in this chart. You can also see that in this one. The revolving door. Goldman Sachs employees end up in positions of power in the government. Then they go back to Goldman Sachs, showing you that this isn't just one way. It goes both ways. It is an extreme example, but this goes on with other companies as well. Goldman Sachs, despite the fact that we have new governments all the time, their power stays in place. That's the way this works. Then you can see this chart here. Goldman Sachs Group Inc., you could see all of the connections that are made with different people, different businesses, different corporations that are around. Too many to cover, but you'll see that on here, including things like the Council on Foreign Relations, as well as others. So this is important to note, because when we look at these charts, many of these are from a website called geke.us, but essentially what we're looking at here is all public information, but somebody has taken the liberty of putting these together in these beautiful diagrams. So of course I'm thankful for that. Looking at this, GE, a company that pays no taxes, and they are capable of having so much power over the government. Why? Because at every level, they have people in the positions of power. The CEO, the GE Council, the senior VPs, all throughout, having those high positions of power within the government. Then you look at AT&T. They are complicit in what I've covered here on the channel before, how they have been giving information to the US government for a long time, spying on Americans. Big Tobacco, we've known about this for decades and decades, that they are intertwined. And the agricultural department in the US, Fannie Mae, bailed out. They were put trillions onto the backs of the US taxpayer after the housing crisis. And you'll see that here, why that is the case. Because everywhere from the CEOs to the senior VPs, all throughout, they are one in the same. This here is an excellent chart showing you AIG, among others, having their connections, whether it's through their board of directors, executive governance, and so on, seeing connections all around, from GE to the Council on Foreign Relations and everything else, all these major corporations all interconnected with AIG. Does it surprise you that they would get a multi-billion-dollar bailout? Of course not. Looking at Google. Google is complicit with the government. I will go one even further, that they were in fact created by the CIA. I've done a video about this recently, and you'll see why. Because at every single level, once again, they are one and the same. Looking at big oil, the subsidies that they get, very clear, very obvious. Looking at no matter what damage they do, they are unable to do any harm, apparently, because they are, again, same situation. Ford Motor Company, going way back when Ford was able to have such a deep connection in with the government. This isn't something that is new. It's a known fact for quite some time with the Ford Foundation and others. New York Life Insurance, same deal. Yahoo, looking at this here, despite the fact that there could be any number of scandals, doesn't matter, because as long as you have your people in positions of power, everything's going to be okay. Deutsche Bank, a company that has trillions and trillions in derivatives, bigger than any government out there. They hold that power. Despite the fact that the stock has done so terrible over the years, they are still very powerful because of their derivatives exposure. Now, how are they allowed to do this? Well, once again, people in positions of power going from Europe to the US and back. Wells Fargo, a company that was caught laundering, I believe the number was $380 billion approximately. Doesn't matter, people in positions of power. Looking at this, EpiPen. I thought this was quite interesting. In fact, you can see that this company has absolutely no competition. Why? I've said it again. Pharmaceuticals interconnected in with that one. Of course, this is the same situation. CEOs of the biggest companies, the highest positions, then make their way into areas where they should never be allowed to be in. The people who are supposed to be protecting us are in fact working for the corporations. Should be illegal, but of course, it's not. And then Monsanto. Monsanto being one of the most evil corporations on earth, generally recognized as such. Why? Why? Well, congressmen, senators, senior staffers, people working at the White House, the USDA, and so on. All Monsanto employees. They may suggest that they've left their job at that business and moved on to a government position. They've never left. They have never left. And in many cases, you'll see that they are still working for them in some way as an advisor, consultant, or what have you. This here is a similar chart to the Monsanto one, showing you all the different positions, but the font is really, really small. So I just wanted to move on quickly, showing you that this list goes even longer. All the years are here. You can see all of that. Of course, if you want to see any of these, just go to the bottom where the description of this video is, and you will see sources used in this video. I will have all the links there. Looking at this, going on a little deeper than that. Logan Act violators, Bilderberg 2012. You'll see here that obviously the font is far too small, but all of the people interconnected with all of these big businesses in one way, shape, or form. Then you wonder why. Why are they able to get the deals that you and I are not able to? Well, this is the reason. They are all one in the same. Somehow, some way, they're all interconnected. There are very, very few corporations out there, big conglomerates out there. You may be able to buy into one stock or another, but somebody owns somebody else. That's just the way it is. The CFR, Trilateral and New World Order Connection, you could see here in this font, once again, very small, it's very blurry, but I just wanted to make the note that there are think tanks, as they like to call them, different groups that like to hang out together, like to involve people from the government, different people from different big businesses. They like to meet beyond closed doors. Sometimes we get some media attention on it, and as a result, we have some deals that always happen to take place after. And it's funny because all of those people in the highest positions like to hang out together, like to discuss policy together, and then we're supposed to suggest that they have no power, that they have nothing nefarious to do or to say, but they don't want to have any media present. They don't want to record what's happening on the inside, and they don't want to make it a big deal. But I have to suggest that we need to make it a big deal. And then this here, Bilderberg, Trilateral, CFR, all interconnected from everybody from Rockefeller and onward. You'll see the power that these corporations, these think tanks, they all hold, and they hold them over the governments. You know, you have new governments all the time. You have Democrats, Republicans, it doesn't matter, because the real power exists in the shadows. They are the ones who own and control you. They own everything, every facet of your life. They are doing nefarious deeds to you every single day, and it goes on in the shadows. You don't have control, they have control, and that is very clear, very evident to me, and I hope that you saw that presented here in this video, in this expose. If you did, then please give me a thumbs up. I do appreciate that very much. If you found this video informative, I know you will find my books, The Money GPS, and my newer release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. You can actually flip through these books. If you go over to Amazon, They have a look inside feature, which will allow you to flip through the pages of these books to see if you like them. Take care.